Welcome to Engagement on the Social Web. Transparency by way of open conversations often equate to advocacy, drive sales, and a mutually beneficial learning experience for both the business and the consumer. Achieving this level of engagement with the customer or fan base is not so much about the platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, but they are more about how these are best leveraged to enable meaningful interaction with the consumer. The process of actually having open conversation, as we mentioned with transparency, asking questions, and listening, as we previously stated again and again, equate to the building of better products and the market in a more relevant way. These all add value to the relationship with the customer. The relationship, again, they feel a lot more connected to the business. And they also create these conversations to build relationships, but they're very, very challenging for any business. Perhaps the biggest challenge in marketing. This can, however, be achieved by implementing a formal strategic approach by connecting customers with the business. But you have to have a serious mentality when going into it. You have to, again, view the consumer as a co-contributor. When you look at it from that perspective and take it seriously from a business aspect, you're more likely to achieve success in that area. It goes without saying there's been a significant paradigm shift with the influence of the very vocal consumer market. Taking a look at engagement as a customer activity, what can we expect? Well, first of all, engagement does create an expectation from the customer's perspective. The customer then expects to be actively involved and engaged with the actual business. When we take a look at the next bullet point here, two-way relationship with brands, products, and services, there's definitely reciprocity there. Both sides benefit. The consumer gets to be more of a bigger part of the actual business, and the business gets to gauge the consumer market for insight, perspective, experience, and involvement with their products, brands, or services. There's definitely a fundamental connection between the business and the consumer. That relationship is very, very essential with this dynamic. The customer is not viewed as a target, but as an equal partner. Now, in a literal sense, that's not true. They're not an equal partner. However, you have to view them as such to take it seriously, to take the act of customer involvement and engagement seriously. You have to view it that way. If you do not view it that way, and you look at the consumer as a pawn or someone to help you with monetary gain, you're not going to be successful in social business. So you have to view them as a co-contributor at the very least. I wouldn't say equal partner because you don't want the customer to actually run your business. You are still going to be at the helm, at the driver's seat, running your corporation or your business and making the final decisions. However, the customer should definitely have a voice and influence the direction of whatever decisions you happen to make. And lastly, engagement is definitely a customer-centric activity. It's focused on the involvement and participation and the expression of opinions and experiences from the product, brand, or service from the customer perspective. So it's definitely a customer-centric activity. With that being said, it's going to make the customer empowered. You're going to empower the customer, make them feel important, and make them feel also acknowledged. With that, you'll get that participation and that activity on the social web. And they will contribute their thoughts, perspectives, and experiences with your brand's products and services. And that will equate to, again, from the business perspective side of things, insight. Insight is going to be essential to the success of your business. Again, as I've stated time and time again, when you have insight, when you have your finger on the pulse of exactly what the consumer looks for in the product, brand, or service, you're more likely to be proactive and create the products that the consumer market wants. To create those products, you have to learn also to think like a fish. Now, that's a phrase that basically tells you to kind of walk in their shoes, get inside their head, and know what they're thinking and feeling. Put yourself on the actual playing field with your consumer. Put yourselves in their environment and try to get into their head. All this is done with the end goal of creating a better experience for the customer or providing them with exactly what they want, which is what we talked about in the previous slide. When you have that insight, you can be proactive and give the customers the product that they want. They will invest in those products because they're receiving exactly what they're expecting. Successfully catching a fish or a customer is not driven by the need to catch that fish or customer. It's driven by appealing to the needs and interest of that customer. And that's exactly what you're trying to do when you're out there trying to court customers and get them to kind of latch on or associate themselves with your product, brand, or service. Turn your perspective around to the viewpoint of the consumer. That is what you're trying to do when you get into their heads. And you have to have, again, relevance, and you have to be active on social media platforms in order to infiltrate that intelligence from the customer market. And again, from a marketer's perspective, the interest here is a creative campaign to attract customers. From the customer perspective, is basically they think is, why would a potential customer be interested in spending time in the activity associated with that particular campaign? You have to make it attractive. We talked about higher calling campaigns and that attracting a certain customer base because it's bigger than life, and other different approaches. We've talked about Pepsi and Coca-Cola and different brands and the type of marketing campaigns that they have rolled out in order to try to get customers to gravitate toward those marketing campaigns. And they use many different approaches, but they appeal to the needs of the customers. We've talked about some of those needs and some of those inherent traits of the customer, such as passions, lifestyles, and causes. When you can relate to a customer, it definitely resonates with them and they're more likely to participate and be actively involved and care. And also you can create consumer advocates as well. You'll have to excuse me. I use customer and consumer interchangeably. So if you do catch that, I do want to point it out because I do use the two very much interchangeably. It takes on a new relevance for the customer, again, when you empower your customer, when you give them that sense of responsibility and acknowledgement. It does take on a new relevance for the customer. They actually care about the product, and it isn't a one-off transaction that's basically not going to be revisited. Again, we're trying to create retention here from the customer's behalf. We want them to come back to the product. We're trying to create a certain sense of attachment to the actual product, brand, or service. That's what we're trying to create. How do we accomplish that? We can sell the product. Anybody can sell a product, and you can do so successfully and make a lot of money selling the product. But how do you get the customer to come back and become a loyal customer and associate themselves with your brand, product, or service? When they go back into that retail outlet or that store, they want to purchase the same product again. When they want to replenish that product when they've exhausted their current supply of whatever that product happens to be. You want them to come back to that very same product. How do you attract them? How do you get their attention? When I go into a store, there are certain products that I purchase that I really don't care what the brand is. I have to replenish this particular product. I have to replenish this particular product. Don't care what the brand is. I'm just going to grab whatever brand. How do you get a customer like me to be more loyal to a particular brand? Although there are alternatives out there that may be comparable to the brand that I'm purchasing. That is the kind of strategic thinking that you have to execute in order to get this retention and in order to be sustainable as a social business. You have to find a way to connect to the consumer on a higher level. Lifestyles, passions, and causes. And also, I'll add to that bunch, acknowledgement. That is exactly what Coca-Cola accomplished with their Share a Coke marketing campaign, and that was the point of engagement for them. It's simplistic in its execution. What they did was put a name on a Coca-Cola bottle, and they basically sold it, and people went nuts over it, including myself. I am not traditionally a Coca-Cola drinker. However, anytime I visit the local grocery store, and when I see these Coca-Cola bottles, I can't help but look for my name, the name of a loved one, perhaps a significant other, or one of my children. I just absolutely cannot help it. Why is that? Why do people gravitate towards such a marketing campaign where it's so simple as to put a name on a product when it's the very same product? There is no enhancement in taste for this Coca-Cola bottle, or Coca-Cola drink, I should say. No enhancement in the product whatsoever, but the marketing campaign and the approach that they applied was, again, adding a name to the product. Why do people gravitate toward that is the question that resurfaces here. They gravitate toward it because it's a sense of acknowledgement. We've talked about that time and time again. Acknowledgement. The consumer loves to be acknowledged. They like to be noticed. When they see their name printed on something, they immediately are enticed because they see their name on a product in a retail outlet or in their local store, Walmart, Target, Kmart, wherever it happens to be, and they immediately are engaged with that, the act of, or the notion of purchasing a product with their name on it. Now, in a traditional sense, if you look back, this type of marketing campaign has been done in the past. Keychains have done it and other products as well. Same thing, when I see a keychain with my name on it or a significant other or a child, it immediately catches my attention. Why? Again, acknowledgement. When your name is on a product, people gravitate toward that organically. It goes without saying that this Share a Coke marketing campaign is one of Coca-Cola's most noteworthy digital campaigns. It's earned a total of 18 million media impressions online, and the traffic on their Coca-Cola Facebook site increased tenfold by 870%. Their likes grew 39%. And there was a direct correlation with the launch of this marketing campaign back in 2011 that resulted in also a 7% increase in sales. This has been an extraordinary marketing campaign that is simplistic in its execution. Again, a lot of marketers, more often than not, have a tendency to overthink things too much. When you think of it from the customer perspective, when you learn to think like a fish, that phrase we used in the prior slide, learn to think like a consumer in our particular instance, you're more likely to be successful because you're connecting with them at a more grassroots level. You're getting into their head as to what they like, and the consumer oftentimes does not like complexity. They like simplicity, and that's exactly what this marketing campaign, it's very, very simplistic, putting a name on a product, not increasing the product itself or enhancing the product itself, improving the product, none of that. Simply putting a name on the product, a random name, and they basically dig into the options of names you have out there. You can easily do that on any web page and look for all these types of typical names that people tend to have, add them on the Coca-Cola bottle. More often than not, people find their name and then they want to buy the product. Again, I've been enticed by this marketing campaign, and I'm not even a Coca-Cola drinker. I would suspect that many of you can share the same sentiment. If you see a Coca-Cola bottle with your name on it, you'll be tempted to likely purchase it. Not necessarily drink it, purchase it, take a picture of it, and put it on your Facebook page and say, hey, look, I've seen that a lot also. I've seen people posting pictures of Coca-Cola bottles that people that I know don't even drink the product, but it has their name on it. And again, we're really, really enticed. We're really attracted to that sense of acknowledgement. So I really want to show or draw attention to that sense of acknowledgement from the customer perspective, to kind of let you know exactly what the customer likes. And we've talked about acknowledgement on previous slides and previous lectures, but to kind of really, really point it out and emphasize exactly how important that is from a customer perspective, you can take a look at the Share a Coke marketing campaign and exactly why it's so successful. As we continue along with the theme of acknowledgement, Planet Fitness has taken the very same approach, or a very similar approach. People like to tell stories about weight loss. I see it on Facebook, I see it on websites, I see it on Twitter, I see before pictures and after pictures. People love to tout their success with weight loss. So what did Planet Fitness do? They know people and members are going to pay because they only have a $10 a month fee. I guess if you're a Black Card member and have a couple of extra additional incentives there, it's $20 a month, but that's relatively fair in terms of paying for a place to work out every month. That's definitely affordable. So they can be successful just based on that. But people are going to Planet Fitness. They can go to any facility in their local area, in their town, or in their state to work out. Why do people continue to go to Planet Fitness? How did Planet Fitness create a sense of retention to get people back to their product? They wanted to elevate their level of connectivity with the customer by way of, again, creating a social media platform called Planet of Triumphs. People love to tout their success, again, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, or any social media platform that has already been pre-existing. However, they created their own environment online that you can join if you're a Planet Fitness member, and you can tout your success. I'm actually a member of Planet of Fitness, and I've touted my success because I'm very proud of my weight loss. I've lost 50 pounds in the last year. I was very much overweight, out of shape, and not very healthy. Everything has turned around for me a year later, and I posted pictures, before and after pictures on Planet of Triumphs. This engaged me. This encouraged me to actually participate in their environment online, even though I already pay the monthly fees. It does not matter. I'm connecting with the brand on an elevated level because they created a platform that enticed me, that attracted me to it because, again, people love to talk about their success with weight loss. It's very simplistic. Planet Fitness realized this and they said, hey, let's create a platform, let's create an environment online where people will come and we will encourage them to share their weight loss stories. And people absolutely love it. It's a very successful marketing campaign. And again, it creates an elevated sense of attachment between the consumer or customer and the actual brand. So that's very important. Again, simplicity and execution. That's what we're looking at here with some of these marketing campaigns, such as the Coca-Cola Share a Coke campaign and here Planet of Triumphs. So keep that in mind. A couple of slides back, we talked about the customer being an equal partner, but I encourage you to think otherwise. You have to have that mentality. They are an equal partner. However, in reality, they aren't. It's still your business. Sometimes customers do get it wrong. When it comes to the social web, if your customers tell you to jump and your only response is, how high, you're in big trouble. Also, I talk about the importance of transparency, which is very, very important. But 100% transparency could result in a competitor gaining the competitive advantage. And that's something you also want to stay away from. So you have to exercise good judgment when being transparent as a social business. Placing a customer at the center of what you do doesn't mean handing them the wheel. I also use that phrase, taking control of the wheel and being the one to drive your business to where it needs to be. You can have a backseat driver, which I consider the customer to be the backseat driver or perhaps the passenger in the vehicle that's giving you advice on where you want to go and where you want to turn when you navigate to your destination. And that's perfectly fine, but ultimately you have the driver's wheel. So I'm kind of using that analogy to communicate to you that it's still your business. You are still responsible for the performance, the customers, the shareholders, the management, and the colleagues, stakeholders, anyone associated with the success of your social business. The social web changes the way in which your customers expect to be able to participate or engage with your business. And you definitely do not want to alienate customers by not being transparent at all. However, you have to exercise better judgment when doing so. So there needs to be a balance there. And of course, I'm sure many of you are already cognizant of that, but we have to reinforce that particular notion because it's very, very important and it's essential to the success of social business. We definitely, as a business, do not want to alienate consumers or customers. We don't want to do that. Here's where being involved on the social web has its benefits. Customers come to the rescue. If customers are involved with the process, if they are a co-contributor and the idea is presented by a customer online that's a little bit crazy or a little bit doesn't really align with the objectives of your business, very often other participants will intervene and they'll handle the situation themselves. They'll filter out the bad ideas on behalf of the organization, and you don't have to be the bad guy. You don't have to be the one to say no to every wacky idea contributed by the consumer. The consumers will say it for you. They will speak on your behalf. Your customers will also sort out many conversations for you, so you don't have to respond to each and every comment, suggestion, or idea. The customers, again, they're a co-contributor. That's very, very essential. You have to view them as such. It also gives you the opportunity, again, to connect on an elevated level with your customers and participate with them in conversations online, inviting them to collaborate to you. That goes without saying. In doing so, you have to always exercise and demonstrate respect to the consumers because they are individuals, they are human beings. So you have to make sure that you be very, very respectful because you don't want to give them the wrong impression as to what type of business you are in terms of ethical and support. Social technology driven business equals long-term success. Again, when you strategically approach it with the intent of connecting with your consumers or customers on an elevated level, you're definitely taking the right approach and adopting the right mentality. When speaking about customers coming to the rescue, it brings me back to a similar theme that's been very, very successfully executed with Kickstarter. We've discussed Kickstarter before. Kickstarter, again, to kind of reiterate, is the world's largest crowdfunding platform and falls under the category of crowdsourcing, which is a concept we introduced about 2 weeks back. However, again, to kind of stay along the lines of customers coming to the rescue and intervening on behalf of the brand, product, or service, that is the epitome of what Kickstarter represents. That's exactly what it does. They get people to intervene on their behalf to help fund their projects, whether it be creative projects, musical projects, art projects, stage shows, journalism, video game, food-related projects, comics, whatever the case may be. The customer is intervening and connecting to the actual brand on an elevated level. It makes them feel more connected to the brand, therefore creating advocates of the brand and creating individuals that have a higher interest in exactly what the brand, product, or service does. You have these customers of high intelligence out there that do speak on your behalf and they intervene on your behalf, again, to kind of inform and educate others about what your product, brand, or service represents or what it entails. That is a very, very smart approach on the behalf of any social business, and that's exactly what Kickstarter means. It means customers becoming involved on behalf of the actual concept, business, brand, or service. And again, in an effort to bring these creative projects to life as it states here on the splash page of Kickstarter. Let's take a look at advocates in the making. The purpose of a traditional business is to create and keep a customer. With the advent of social technology, the objective now is for customers to create more customers. So again, the responsibility is not solely in the hands of the business. When you create influencers and advocates of your product, brand, or service, customers will create more customers. Case in point, myself, as I've stated in the past, I'm a huge advocate of Apple products. If you ask me about an Apple product, more often than not, I am going to sing the praises of that product because I am very high on their products. This has oftentimes resulted in them, the individual, receiving the message from me taking me up on my suggestion or recommendation in purchasing an Apple product, whether it be a MacBook Pro, whether it be an iPad, an iPhone. I actually recently visited a friend of mine who switched from Android to iPhone. She purchased an iPhone. She did not like the iPhone and she has decided to go back to Android. However, with me being an advocate of that product and me being very high on that product and very happy with that product myself, I was able to convince her to try the Apple product. Now, it didn't work out in that particular instance, but over the years, it's worked out a lot more than it has failed with my recommendations of Apple products. 9 out of 10 times, people have been very happy with my recommendations. So I am definitely an active advocate of that product. Again, the customer base spreads the word of mouth to you. That is exactly what we're trying to accomplish from a business point of view. When we take a look at recurring behaviors, listening leads to innovation or service design that delights customers when people are happy about a certain aspect of that product. And then it drives the beneficial word of mouth. Word of mouth is very, very important. A one-off transaction to an individual is not going to benefit a business. It will immediately in financial results. However, when you look at the long marathon of the entire situation, when you look at the big picture, again, business is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you can be successful in the short term, but what you're trying to do is be successful in the long term and to create sustainability of your business so you can definitely reap the benefits for years and years to come. With recurring behaviors also in mind, it shows up as favorable posts and listening exercises and social media analytics. So again, when you have people talking about your product, brand, or service, this creates impressions on the social web that you can tap into. This creates metrics. This creates opportunities for you to make sense of exactly how people feel about your product and for you to actually be proactive in the decisions you make regarding your product moving forward. When we take a look at desired results, customers actively promoting a brand, product, or service, again, that is what the desired result is. You want to definitely create a product and create an opportunity for the customer to engage with the business or the product on that elevated level so you can have that customer become an advocate, graduate to an advocate, I might say, and have them promoting your brand beyond that initial point of purchase. You want them to transcend that one-off point of purchase. That is the goal here, so they can continue to discuss and talk to other individuals out there on the social web. Now, that is oftentimes not a metric that you can measure, but you can definitely contribute much of the success of your product to your advocates out there that are selling the product to other individuals that might be interested or maybe not even interested, but they've convinced the individual to try the product or to switch over to the product, as I did in many an occasion over the years. So you want to definitely, as a business, drive that collaboration between customers and develop these brand advocates. These are going to be anchors to the success of your social business. They are very, very important. Now let's take a look at engagement as a business activity. Customer engagement is a prerequisite for advocacy. So if you want to have customers that advocate for your product, you have to make sure that they're also engaged with your product. The emergence of customer advocates become measurable end goals of any social business. When your customers are collaborating with each other and they're sharing the results of those efforts with other participants, they are engaged with your business. And again, many businesses take many different strategic approaches in order to try to achieve this, to try to get the customer to actually attach themselves or connect themselves to the product, brand, or service at an elevated level that's significant to the business, where the business, again, can create these advocates for their product and create this sense of engagement, because that's always going to be a prerequisite for any kind of advocacy in any category. It's a fundamental condition for driving long-term profits and substantial growth. We've talked about this. When you look at the big picture, when you think ahead and think forward, you have to think about sustainability of your product, brand, or service or business. You want to definitely drive long-term success and not look at that one-off transaction benefiting for that particular moment in time and being successful, and then a couple of months down the line or a couple of years down the line, that success and those numbers have subsided. You don't want to get yourself in that type of situation. So you have to create these advocates, create these points of engagement, these opportunities for customers to connect to the business. You have to connect to them, acknowledge the advocates, provide incentives for these advocates, reward them, let them know they're important, let them know that you see them, you know they're there. That means everything in the world to a customer advocate. I recently had an individual on Twitter favorite, actually two individuals who I happen to be big fans of. I won't mention them, but my sons are big fans of them as well. They retweeted a picture that I posted of my sons doing a pose of theirs. They both retweeted it. It meant the world to my sons. Their eyes lit up. I told them that they retweeted and favorited their picture, and my sons absolutely were just really, really taken aback and happy about it. And I was happy about it too. And as a result of that, I was a fan of them before. I'm an even bigger fan of them now, and I'm sure my sons are as well. We appreciate a simple press of a button to acknowledge the picture that I tagged them in. And that's all it took. I'm just 2 times a bigger fan of them than I was previously. Simple, simple things that you can do on behalf of your business to grow that sense of connectivity with your fan base, consumer, or customer. Creating advocates through engagement. Advocates will readily and favorably recommend brands, products, services, and causes. This can oftentimes result in the reduction of expenditures, the deterioration of profit margins, and it can also result in an opportunity for consumers to enhance the process of engagement and continue that line of consumer advocates. Oftentimes, that can result in price breaks, discounts, and rebates. You have to remember from a business perspective that innovation is the lifeblood of a business. When a business is self-contained and they alienate their fan base or they alienate the customer base, they don't know what the customer wants out of the product. They make it up and brainstorm internally and come up with solutions that they think customers will buy into. You have to know exactly what the consumer wants, and you can only do that by connecting with the consumer on an elevated level. Again, it's the very lifeblood of a social business and any business in general. We talked about the disadvantage of trying to be closed-minded and alienating your customer base and trying to figure it all out internally. What we also have to take a look at is you have to delegate responsibility effectively amongst your resources you have available in your business, resources being your employees, your most vital resources. And responding to engaged customers can be quite challenging. You have to establish a balance of exactly how you're going to do this. Setting up your team internally to collect, analyze, and respond to what you need to do, opposed to what customers and constituents are asking you to do, can make an obvious root of dissatisfaction. This can create that root of dissatisfaction amongst consumers when you try to do it yourself. But how do you respond to engaged customers? How do you do this effectively and efficiently without it being too time consuming? You have to execute, again, active listening. You have to look into touch point analysis, collaboration opportunities via engagement, and also solutions through ideation platforms that we've discussed, and innovation drive enhanced satisfaction on behalf of the consumer base. These are things that you need to do to succeed in social business. They're very fundamental to the success in social business. Wouldn't it produce a better solution on behalf of the business if the actual participants in the process had a say in it? Obviously, it would. When you make them part of that process, you can definitely create a better product and also be proactive in doing so. So in order to respond to engaged customers effectively and efficiently, you have to look at different workflow applications out there that will allow you to do that, that will allow you to effectively and efficiently multitask, and that will also do a lot of things autonomously for you. So you don't have to manually sort through or sift through all of the different intelligence out there on the social web. There are applications and solutions out there that will help you to expedite the entire process. We've talked about them. We've talked about BuzzStream. We've talked about Sysomos. We've talked about Converges. These are different software applications and solutions that will help you expedite the process. Connect customers to employees. Offer ways to bring customers back into the alignment with the business and its employees. When you take a look at it closer, interested people come across a variety of applications, products, services, legislation, policies, and more to not only contribute ideas, but to curate. Remember, when I use the term curate, I mean to rate, to comment, to add metadata to the contributions of others. Social technologies provide a way for you to return that sense of control. And again, customers love acknowledgement. They love being able to contribute their ideas on their own playing field. And for you to not be involved to trying to persuade them to do certain things, they like to be given the opportunity to contribute their ideas, thoughts, and perspectives independently. And you can achieve this by a concept we introduced earlier in the course: ideation, creating a platform, encouraging the customers to freely speak their mind and not trying to control the conversation. They get to exchange ideas, they get to ideate, and you get to moderate on behalf of the business, product, or brand. That's exactly how you connect customers to employees effectively and successfully. Create that sense, bridge the gap of communication between the business and the consumer. To bridge that gap is to create that level of connectivity between the customer and the business. Extending engagement. Let's take a look at engagement as a customer activity versus engagement as a business activity, and exactly what it means from both perspectives, since we're looking into all of this with a magnifying glass. From the customer perspective, spending time in activities that are relevant is very important to them, activities that are of interest, and otherwise satisfy a purpose or desire for that customer is exactly how they approach it. So again, when looking at that, you have to make informed and intelligent business decisions that definitely speak to those interests of that consumer base. When looking at it from a business perspective, you have to find ways to encourage collaboration, and it also has to be interpreted or expressed as a learning opportunity on behalf of the business, or a suggestion from the customer base that leads to innovation or similar business benefits. You have to channel the synergy going on out there in the social business or the social community. Look for community anchors that are centered on passion, lifestyles, or causes, and then use them as a basis for your social technology efforts. Again, actively look and identify individuals that are of a higher engagement, individuals that actively participate. Find these individuals, identify them, and take advantage by acknowledging them, by rewarding them, by providing incentives. Again, the goal here ultimately is collaboration between the business and the consumer, and equally as important, collaboration between the consumer and the consumer. You want to get them talking to each other about the brand. The brand is going to be at the nucleus of that conversation. Convert the energy of the customer into energy that produces a business benefit. That's exactly what you'll get. That'll be your outcome when, again, the product, brand, or service is at the center of that conversation, or it's taking place in the environment that the business provided for the consumer. That's likely going to be the case between consumers when they discuss things. If I go to a certain business website, whether it be, or I should say, Even a better example, a social media platform. If I'm having a discussion there, it's likely going to be about their product, brand, or service. So it's up to you again to infiltrate the intelligence to make sure that you monitor and moderate those conversations that take place on the social web and allocate your resources by using balanced techniques. You don't overexert your resources internally, but you also are actively monitoring and making sure that you're keeping an eye on the activity taking place on the social web. Ask passionate customers to moderate or join a research community. This is considered to be an honor. I am part of many different resource-based and research-based communities as part of a brand, product, or service. They asked me to be a part of these different communities to test products ahead of launch. I consider it to be an honor. Technically, at the very helm of things, is it considered to be work? It is. It's work. I'm testing their product. I'm reporting back to them on some of the defects or some things that it may be improved upon. Technically, it's work. I should maybe even be getting paid for it. However, how it translates in the business world from the consumer perspective, it's an honor. If a person is interested in a product, brand, or service, or they're a fan and they're asked to participate in a pilot program that asks them to actually look into a product that they haven't released yet, consumers consider it to be an honor. It's that elevated level of connectivity between the consumer and the business. It's basically empowering the customer or the consumer and letting them know, hey, we care about your opinion. So will you do this for us? You oftentimes don't even have to ask. You provide the opportunity. People will sign up, and you have to basically sift through those people who sent an application to sign up and choose who you want to be a part of your program. So you aren't going to have to seek out the consumer. You make it be known, inform the consumer base, and they will sign up without you having to encourage them much, if any at all. And again, this results in opportunities to beta test products that haven't been on the market yet, or may have been on the market for a short period of time, and you're trying to get a small test group to see exactly what people like about the product and what they dislike about the product, so you can make decisions on how to improve that product. This is how you extend engagement, not just by talking and acknowledging the customer, but actually getting them involved in specific processes such as beta testing and research communities. And speaking of research communities, we'll take a look here at how customers engage with each other within these communities. Taking a closer look at research communities, engaged customers and constituents in a collaborative process are very much engaged with one another. When customers know they're engaged in a research and learning effort, they're already in the mode of sharing what they think of you because they're engaged with one another. They're talking to one another. They're discussing the product, brand, or service. They're not going to be having discussions or conversations that totally deviate from exactly what they're there for. Research communities are very focus-based. So it's focused on a particular product, brand, or service. And that's why they are part of that particular research community. It's not going to veer off into a conversation about what's going on in entertainment or sports. Provides a context for more natural participation. That's exactly what it does when you put people that are interested in a product that volunteered to actually take part in a research-based community. You're going to get that natural participation amongst individuals. Why? Because you have aligned interests. You have people interested in the same thing. That's going to translate in organic conversation amongst these individuals that have aligned interests. You see how that works? Combine the basis of focus group research with the social structures and potential for collaboration found in social networks. And what is the basis of group-related research? It's all centered on a particular brand, product, and service, whether it's a new feature that's been introduced in a currently existing product. It's all focused on something specific. So it's easier for you to utilize research communities as a barometer to gauge exactly what people see or like out of that product. It's a lot more effective approach because, again, it's focused on something specific. So that is one of the many advantages of taking advantage of a research community. Let's take a look at a site that you can utilize on your behalf for your social business to actually assemble a research community. There are sites out there that will help you to assemble these communities in a more structured environment. Communispace is one such research community that, again, you can elevate that level of connectivity between active participants in a more structured and arranged environment. Communispace provides online consumer insights by way of communities for market research. This is a site that you have to invest in and pay for. However, they have a team of 600 plus experts that are like no other. They bring together strategists, innovation specialists, engineers, marketers, and more to customize solutions that best reflect the unique needs of every client they partner with. Their goals become your goals, and their success is exactly how you'll measure your own. So there's a mutually beneficial focus here between the business and the actual Communispace community. They have a deep understanding of customer engagement, and they can uncover that rich material that not only inspires innovation, but also translates into growth for any business. So that's exactly what Communispace will do for you. Again, there will be a contribution in terms of a financial contribution or a premium paid service that you will have to pay for, but it isn't going to be anything that's not affordable for any business, whether it be big or small. It's going to be an affordable solution for you to manage focus groups more effectively and be given insight from strategists, innovation specialists, engineers, marketers, and the like. Experts in every category will provide you with advice, consultation, and experts. What else can you do from a social business standpoint to elevate that level of engagement? Well, one solution is a forum. You definitely want to have a forum. You're going to have a different type of customer that participates within a forum. Customers will talk about the particulars of a product, brand, or service. They will discuss features, defects, and they will be a little bit more educated as to exactly what the product, brand, or service does. So there, again, is an aligned interest there, and that can create and inspire individuals to engage with one another, and that will also serve as a repository of customer intelligence for the business itself. So you definitely want to veer off into forums if you're going to be successful in social business. Another opportunity to engage the customer is ideation platforms that we've talked about time and time again. Establishing a platform that allows the customer voice to be heard, and you are encouraging the consumer along the way. Hey, tell us what you feel about our product. Share your insights. Contribute your ideas and thoughts about the product. It's not going to hurt anyone. The act of listening and the act of sharing an opinion is not going to hurt anyone. This oftentimes will translate into innovation. And we've talked about how innovation is the lifeblood of success for any business moving forward. You have to innovate. And in order to innovate, you have to keep your finger on the pulse of exactly what the consumer expects out of your product moving forward. You cannot be in the same place for years to come. You have to be forward thinking if you are going to be successful. If you continue to repeat the exact same process over and over again, you're not going to grow as a business, and other people, or other competitors, I should say, are going to move past you. They're going to lap you. And then your consumers may move away from your product. Only the very dedicated consumers will stay. But it's common sense for customers to exercise their option to use different products if other products and competitors are moving forward and you're staying in the same place. Platforms that have a natural place in your collaboration program. You also have to look at different social media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. Does it have a natural place in your collaboration program? Of course it does. Everyone needs a Facebook, and I would highly recommend that you use Twitter as well, although gaining followers on Twitter opposed to gaining likes on Facebook from a business perspective is a little bit more challenging. However, I believe you can figure it out if you integrate the correct strategic approach to utilizing your Twitter account and actually making comments and engaging with engaged customers on Twitter and seeking out and identifying other individuals on Twitter as well that may have an interest in your product, brand, or service. Also, we have discussion forums that provide engaging activities and provide insights into the future innovations with built-in benefit of having been generated by customers. Again, customers are really excited. There's an elevated level of engagement here because these are customers that know a little bit more about your product, similar to forums. Engagement opportunities that exist in both discussion forums and just typical forums. Actually, that's a duplicate. They're both pretty much the exact same thing. Again, we get these customers that share this intelligence and this information about products, brands, and services as it appears to product defects or just different features of a product, whatever the case may be. These customers have more of an insight, they have more experience with the product, and they want to talk about it. They want to definitely show people, hey, I know about this product. You can come to me and ask me a question about it, or I am going to flex my intelligent muscles and share this intelligence with other individuals out there for that sense of acknowledgement. Because when you know stuff about a product, or you seem to have more of a background and knowledge and understanding of a product, people gravitate to that and they provide acknowledgement for you, and then you as a consumer feel kind of special. It's only natural. I know when I speak about Apple products, I feel special because I know a lot more about Apple products than some other people. Even when I'm in the Apple store, as I was recently, I knew more about some of the sales associates than they did about their own product, as I had to correct them a couple of times. Not in a malicious way, but I just, they stated some incorrect specifications about a particular product, and I had to make a couple of corrections, and they were very, very impressed, and I felt kind of cool. Who doesn't do that? Maybe not everybody does that, but I did it on that particular occasion. I don't make it a habit of doing things like that, but if I know something and people state something incorrectly, then I typically have a tendency to correct. So those are other things that you can do on behalf of your social business in order to position yourself to be successful. Taking a look at advocacy as a whole, more engagement plus better experience equals more advocates. You are likely to gain more advocates if you have those points of engagement and you have that opportunity for customers to collaborate and engage that are experienced. When they are experienced, they oftentimes can convert to an advocate of your product. So that is a marriage made in heaven for anyone looking for customer advocates. Experience and engagement. It is about the combination of business savvy and genuine intent to place customers and not the brand at the center of the social experience. So again, we talk about intentions, we talk about perspectives of business and consumers, etc. We go on and on with the cyclical nature of the entire process. We have customers that talk about products, they have general conversations, and oftentimes businesses look to target customers as a source of their financial gain and market their product to the customer. But when you put that aside, it comes along naturally. When you put it aside and look at the interest, the passions, and causes of your customer base, you create or generate that elevated level of connectivity between the business and the consumer that lasts a very long time, and it occurs organically, it occurs naturally, and that's going to create retention, and that's also going to translate into sustainability, which we've talked about is very, very important. Let's look at a couple of brands that have reached out to its customers. First and foremost, we have Microsoft. Microsoft have a lot of different engagement activities and a lot of engagement opportunities for individuals who are fans of their product. Recently, I was asked to take part in the Windows 10 beta, and I participated. And actually, I like Windows 10 a lot better than Windows 8. Don't know what happened with Windows 9, but that's a story for another time. Planet Fitness, we talked about Planet of Triumphs. That is a really, really awesome idea that they have executed to get people who like to talk about weight loss. People naturally like to talk about weight loss, as we've already discussed, and they created a platform for individuals to specifically speak about weight loss. Fitness is a lifestyle. Fitness is also a passion of individuals as well. They found a way to connect with their consumer base on that elevated level. Then we have Nike. They've done it in a variety of different ways as well, whether it be forms, whether it be having a presence in many different athletic and sporting events, which is one of their best approaches that they actually take, is that presence being, again, they're attaching themselves to a lifestyle or a passion. People are passionate about running. People are passionate about basketball, football, soccer, whatever the case may be. They've created customer advocates that way because even people that are actively involved, people that are spectators or fans, they watch these individuals on television and they watch what kind of athletic gear they wear, which oftentimes is Nike, and then they want to they aspire to be like that particular athletic star, and then they mimic that athletic star, and then they want to wear the same type of apparel that athletic star is wearing, whether it be a Nike or a Puma or an Adidas, whatever the brand happens to be. That is how the world works. People see and then they mimic because they are fans. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but that is exactly how it works. Nike has figured it out. They figured out how to create these advocates of their product, advocates that don't even have to say anything. They're just performing their art, whether it be a sport or whatever the case may be. Individuals see what type of shoe they're wearing, what type of shirt or athletic apparel they're wearing, and they want to mimic exactly what that individual is wearing and doing. Then we have Walmart. Walmart does it as well. They have lots of different communities out there. Also, they have a community. They work with Bazaar Voice, I believe, and they incorporate and implement comprehensive ratings on their site. And also, they have a review program across its product lines. They create advocacy that way. People are given an opportunity and a platform to express themselves. Best Buy, they do something similar where they have a rating system, a comprehensive rating system for their products. They give the customer an opportunity to speak about the product that they sell. Amazon does the same thing. This is all great. It's a great experience for the consumer, and it's also a sign of faith for the business because what you're doing is you're saying that, hey, I believe in my product. I believe in the services that we provide the consumer. I believe in the services that we offer the consumer. So I'm opening it up for the consumer to rate and review the transactions that take place and the products that we sell on our website or the products that we sell in general. We're opening it up to the consumer to speak on our products. We're showing a sign of faith. That is a very, very important thing because, again, you're showing that you're being transparent, you're being proactive, and you're not trying to hide anything. And when things are transparent, when I make purchases online, whether it be Best Buy, whether it be Walmart, whether it be Amazon, I always look at the customer reviews. I told a story a couple of weeks back about me purchasing a protector for my Apple Watch. When I read the reviews, many customers said that this particular protector scratched up their Apple Watch. I made the purchase and then I canceled the purchase a couple of minutes later after reading the reviews. Now, usually I read the reviews before I purchase something, but I kind of had a moment where an impulse buy moment where I just saw it and I saw I got a couple of good ratings and I just went ahead and purchased it. However, I went back, I canceled the purchase because of the customer intelligence and insight and the pictures that consumers provided of scratched up watches. That is also another thing. When you create these advocates, when you create individuals out there that have a higher level of connection with the business and they have a certain amount of experience with the product, you also create opportunities for these individuals to share more information than just the basic. Whether it be text-based, they can share images, they can share other things. Rather than just say, hey, it's a good product or it's a bad product. That's how you create advocacy. People will post things. And unfortunately, some of those things will be bad. But if you have a customer advocate, oftentimes they'll post pictures that are positive, that are meant to make a good and positive impression on potential buyers. I've posted pictures of new cars I've bought. I've posted pictures of computers that I've purchased. I posted pictures of television I purchased a couple of years ago. This is a sign of advocacy because it's a higher level. It's more than that one-off transaction. I'm going the additional step. I'm transcending beyond that initial point of purchase. That's exactly what I'm doing, and that's exactly why advocacy is so important and customer engagement is so important as well. So always remember, more engagement, more engagement opportunity or points of engagement, and better experience equate to more customer advocates. And advocates are going to be very vital to the success of your social business.